Now I'm going to try to knit together 40 years of study and diverse philosophy and theology into a unified concept. The ways to enlightenment, the so-called, there was traditionally three ways, and then what we're doing is the fourth way. One, the way of the body, like the faker, F-A-K-I-R, one that beats himself to get realization through suffering. That's the way of the body. The way of the emotion, the priest or believer that emphatically prays and chants and emotes to God and to the higher forces of the universe. It's the way of the emotion. The mind, the way of the yogi, through intellectual contemplation. There's a fourth way known as the way of the warrior, which has nothing to do with physically fighting. It's a battle between the ego and the spirit, and incorporates all the other three. Now, let's keep those differentials in mind momentarily. Now, if we get to the philosophical and Eastern philosophical concepts, we have what? There's the way, there is the physical body, the astral body, the mental body, and the causal body. Physical body, way of the body. Astral body, way of the emotions. Mental body, the way of the yogi or the intellect. Causal body, the master, the way of the master. Another allegory, Gurdjieff. The way of the body is the carriage. The way of the emotion, the horse. The way of the mind or the intellect, that's the cabbie. The master level, the passenger or master sitting within the vehicle. That is when the master comes home. It gets as diverse of, let's think of Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, as many of you may know, had a huge following. There are those that believe that not only was she brilliant, she had all the answers, but she fell short. She did not know she fell short. And I'm sure the Ayn Rand Society would have great quarrel with me if they ever cared to discuss it. Let's think of the categories. Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. She divided all the world into three categories. There we go again, the three ways, forgetting the fourth way. The brute. The vast majority of mankind on the planet, she referred to as brutes, weren't particularly educated, didn't have great emotional depth, didn't produce much. Way of the body, the brute. Two, in her category, is the witch doctor, the priest, the way of the emotion. Third is the intellectual / producer, the way of the mind. And of course, in Ayn Rand's philosophy, the producer and the intellect was the be-all and the end-all. The be-all and the end-all, that's what was important. That was Atlas holding up the world. Ayn Rand was ignorant of the fourth way, the capstone, transcendent man. She has the brute, which is physical man, the witch doctor, the priest, the horse, the producer, intellectual, the cabbie, but no awareness of the master, that which transcends. Gurdjieff spoke about several categories of man, and he said there's man 1, 2, and 3, and only beginning with man 4 do you begin to wake up. Man 1 is the physical type. Sure, he's got some intellect and some emotion, but he's primarily physical specimen. Heavy-duty labor identifies with his strong body. For him, his right hand, his muscles, his physical prowess, and what he can do with his body is paramount. man number one. Man number two is the emotional man. He's not particularly physically gifted, doesn't have the highest intellect, with incredible deep emotional depth and compassion, is able to emote and feel suffering and views reality primarily that way. It's man number two. Man number three is the intellectual, very predominant in our Western society. Not particularly physical, not particularly deep emotionally, but very intellectual. Very intellectual. Brilliant mind perhaps, very studied, very scientific, logical, full of reason, whatever. Ironically, nobody calls them retarded or disabled or handicapped, but they are. They're emotionally handicapped, especially physically handicapped. Man number four is one that goes beyond the identification with body, emotion, and intellect, and develops through self-remembering, double attention, and through witnessing and awareness of one's identification, develops a center of gravity. That's the beginning of the master coming home. That center of gravity stands firm and resolute against the sleep-inducing pull of the body, the emotions, and the thinker.
Matter does not exist.